The kitchen smelled like burnt garlic and disappointment. I was standing at the stove, trying to salvage what was supposed to be pasta carbonara, but had turned into something closer to a science experiment when my phone buzzed on the counter. One text message. 9 words that would change everything. I miss my sister. I'll stay with her for a few days. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and picked up the phone, reading it again. Then a third time. The words didn't change, but their meaning shifted with each pass. My wife, Lauren, never texted like this. She was verbose, explanatory, the kind of person who'd write 3 paragraphs to explain why she'd be 5 minutes late to dinner. She'd send voice messages that lasted longer than most podcast episodes. She'd call just to tell me she was thinking about getting takeout instead of cooking, as if this required a family meeting. But this? 9 words. No context, no explanation. No, what do you think? Or, is that okay? Or even a simple heart emoji at the end. Just a statement, delivered with the emotional warmth of a weather alert. I typed back, "Sure, drive safe, love you." The 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared. No response. Through the kitchen window, I watched her BMW pull out of the driveway. She didn't wave, didn't look back at the house, just reversed smoothly into the street and drove away, her taillights disappearing around the corner where the Hendersons had that massive oak tree that dropped leaves on everyone's cars every autumn. I stood there holding a wooden spoon, marinara sauce dripping onto the floor, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Lauren hadn't packed a bag. Our bedroom was upstairs, and I absolutely knew, that her overnight bag was still in the closet where it always lived, next to her gym shoes she hadn't worn in 6 months. I'd seen it this morning when I was looking for my running shorts, so either she'd packed so quietly I hadn't heard her, which seemed impossible in our creaky 1940s house where every footstep sounded like a minor earthquake, or she'd already had a bag packed somewhere else, or she wasn't planning to need one. Let me tell you something about myself, because it matters for what comes next. My name is Ryan Thatcher. I'm 36 years old, and I work as a facilities manager for a mid-sized tech company in downtown Seattle. It's not glamorous. Mostly I make sure the building doesn't fall apart, the coffee machines work, the bathrooms stay clean, and the programmers don't accidentally set the kitchen on fire trying to heat up leftover Thai food. I solve problems. That's what I do. Someone reports a leak. I find the source. Someone complains about temperature control. I track down the HVAC issue. Someone loses their key card. I figure out if they actually lost it or if they're lying because they let their boyfriend into the building after hours. You develop instincts in this job. You learn to spot inconsistencies. You learn when people are telling you the truth and when they're feeding you a story because they don't want to admit they broke something. And right now, every instinct I had was screaming that something was wrong. I turned off the stove, scraped the ruined pasta into the trash, and sat down at the kitchen table with my phone. Lauren's sister, Monica, lived in Spokane. That's a 4.5-hour drive east, across the Cascade Mountains, through some of the most beautiful and occasionally treacherous roads in Washington state. It wasn't a trip you made on a whim, especially not on a Wednesday evening in October when the weather forecast was calling for rain. I pulled up our text history and scrolled back through the last few weeks. The pattern was there once I looked for it. 3 weeks ago, Lauren's messages had started getting shorter, where she used to send me photos of her lunch, funny memes she'd found, random observations about her day. Now I was getting single-word responses. Okay. Fine. Later. The tone had shifted from warm to neutral to something that felt almost automated, like I was texting with a customer service bot instead of my wife of 8 years. 8 years. We'd met at a friend's birthday party, bonded over our mutual hatred of the birthday boy's terrible taste in music, and been inseparable ever since. She was smart, funny, ambitious. She worked as an operations manager at a dental practice across town, coordinating schedules and dealing with insurance companies and somehow staying cheerful through it all. Or at least, she used to be cheerful. Lately, she'd been distant, distracted. Her phone was always face down on the table. She'd started taking calls in the other room. She'd developed a sudden interest in working late, coming home at 8 or 9 o'clock, smelling like restaurant food and saying she'd grabbed dinner with colleagues. Colleagues she'd never mentioned before. I opened our phone bill online. We had a shared family plan, one of those things you set up early in a relationship and never think about again until you need to check data usage. The call log loaded slowly, filling my screen with rows of numbers and timestamps. And there it was. A new number. Oregon area code, Portland Metro. The calls had started exactly 3 weeks ago. Short calls, mostly. 5 minutes here, 7 minutes there. But frequent, multiple times a day, usually during lunch or late afternoon. I grabbed a piece of scrap paper and wrote down the number, even though I didn't know what I'd do with it yet. Then I texted Monica. "Hey, this is Ryan. Lauren mentioned coming to visit you for a few days. Just wanted to make sure you're home and everything's good." The response came back within 2 minutes. "Hi, Ryan. I'm actually in Portland for a work conference this week. Haven't talked to Lauren in maybe 2 weeks. Is everything okay?" I stared at those words until they blurred. Portland. Monica was in Portland, not Spokane, which meant Lauren had either made an honest mistake about where her sister was or she was lying. I set down the phone very carefully, as if it might explode if I handled it wrong. The house was too quiet. I could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen, the distant sound of cars passing on the street, the clock ticking in the hallway. All the sounds of a normal Wednesday evening in a normal house, in a normal life. Except nothing was normal anymore. I could have called Lauren right then. Could have confronted her, demanded to know where she really was and who she was really with. But something stopped me. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was strategy. Maybe it was just the part of my brain that solves problems saying, "Don't make noise until you understand the system." Because here's what I knew about Lauren. She was meticulous, organized. She color-coded our calendar. She kept spreadsheets for household expenses. She made grocery lists that were sorted by aisle number. If she'd constructed a lie this elaborate, she'd have thought it through. She'd have backup plans and explanations ready. So I needed to be smarter. I needed to wait, watch, and gather information before I made a move. That night, I barely slept. I lay in our bed, the bed we'd picked out together 5 years ago, the one with the expensive memory foam mattress that Lauren had insisted on because she said it helped her back, and stared at the ceiling. Around 2 in the morning, my phone lit up with a text from Lauren. "Made it safe. Monica's apartment is nice. Going to bed now. Love you." I didn't respond immediately. Let her wonder. Let her think maybe I'd fallen asleep. Maybe I hadn't seen it. Maybe I didn't care. After 10 minutes, I typed back, "Glad you're safe. Sleep well. No love you at the end." She'd notice. She always noticed. But I didn't care anymore. The next morning, Thursday, I went to work like everything was fine. I approved purchase orders for cleaning supplies. I met with the building engineer about replacing ancient boiler parts. I ate a sandwich at my desk while researching reverse phone lookup services. The Portland number from Lauren's call log belonged to a cell phone. No name attached. No helpful information. But during my lunch break, I did something I'm not proud of. I drove to the dental office where Lauren worked, parking across the street where I could see the employee lot. Her car was there, white BMW with the vanity plate she'd gotten as a birthday present to herself. "Smile for you." So she was at work. That was good. That meant whatever was happening, it wasn't affecting her job yet. At 2:30, I watched her leave. She came out through the side entrance, checking her phone, then got in her car. She didn't drive toward home. She drove south, toward the interstate. I followed. I'm not proud of this either, but I'd already crossed a line. Might as well see where it led. 3 cars back, cruise control set to match her speed, I tailed her onto I-5 South. We drove for 40 minutes, passing through suburbs and industrial zones, until she took an exit near Tukwila. She pulled into a shopping complex, one of those outdoor mall situations with a Nordstrom rack and a Panera and a dozen other stores I'd never been to. I parked 5 rows away and watched. Lauren went into a coffee place, one of those trendy spots with reclaimed wood and Edison bulbs, where a small cappuccino costs $7 and they spell your name wrong on the cup. 10 minutes later, she came back out. She wasn't alone. The man with her was tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair styled in that deliberately messy way that probably took 20 minutes and expensive product to achieve. He wore a charcoal suit with no tie, the jacket unbuttoned, like he was trying to look casual, but couldn't quite commit. Designer shoes. Watch that probably cost more than my truck. They didn't touch, didn't hug, didn't kiss. They just walked to their separate cars. His was a black Mercedes, and left in different directions. Professional, careful, practiced. I sat in my truck for a long time after they were gone, my hands gripping the steering wheel hard enough that my knuckles went white. That night, Lauren called. "Hey, babe." Her voice was light, cheerful. "Just wanted to check in. Monica and I went to this amazing Thai place for dinner. I'll have to take you next time we visit." "Sounds great," I said, my voice flat. "You okay? You sound tired." "Long day at work." "Oh, I'm sorry. Want to talk about it?" "Not really." A pause. "Okay. Well, I'll let you go. Love you." "Yeah, you too." I hung up. Then I opened my laptop and started searching for hotels near Tukwila. There were 6 within a 3-mile radius of where I'd seen Lauren. 2 were budget chains. 3 were mid-range business hotels. 1 was a boutique place called the Riverside Manor, with reviews praising its romantic atmosphere and discreet service. I opened our joint credit card statement. 3 weeks ago, the same time those phone calls started, there was a charge for $167 at the Riverside Manor, room service and minibar, according to the itemized bill. I bookmarked the hotel's website. Then I did something that felt both necessary and insane. I called the hotel. "Good evening, Riverside Manor. How may I help you?" The woman's voice was smooth, professional, like warm honey over glass. "Hi, yes, my wife Lauren Thatcher has a reservation with you, and I wanted to surprise her with flowers. Could you tell me what room she's in?" "I'm sorry, sir. We're not able to give out room numbers for privacy reasons." "Right, of course. Can you at least confirm she's checked in? I want to make sure I have the right hotel." Typing sounds. A pause. "We do have a reservation under that name. Checked in yesterday, checking out Sunday." "Perfect. Thank you so much." I hung up before she could ask more questions. So Lauren was at the Riverside Manor, not in Spokane with Monica, not at some dental conference, not visiting a sick friend, at a hotel for 5 days, Thursday through Sunday, with someone. I opened a new document on my laptop and started making a list. Evidence. Lied about visiting sister. Monica confirmed she's in Portland, not Spokane. Multiple calls to Portland number over 3 weeks. Met unknown man at coffee shop. Hotel charge 3 weeks ago. Currently checked in at the Riverside Manor under her own name. Leaving work early to meet him, I saved the document, encrypted it, backed it up to 3 different cloud services. Then I opened our calendar, the shared one Lauren had set up years ago, and looked at this weekend. She'd blocked out Thursday through Sunday with a single entry, Monica's. I added my own entry for Saturday. Surprise visit. I didn't tell her, didn't mention it. Just put it on the calendar and waited to see if she'd notice. She didn't. Friday morning, I woke up at 5 and went for a run. 7 miles through our neighborhood, past houses where families were still sleeping, where people were living normal lives with normal problems. By the time I got home, showered, and made coffee, I had a plan. It wasn't elaborate, it wasn't even particularly clever, but it would work, because Lauren had made one critical mistake. She'd assumed I wouldn't check. She'd assumed I trusted her completely, blindly, without question. She'd assumed wrong. I texted her, "Hey, I haven't seen Monica in a while either. I'll drive up tomorrow afternoon. Should be there around 3. We can all have dinner. I watched the 3 dots appear on my screen, disappear, appear again. They stayed there for almost a minute. Finally, "Oh, that's so sweet, but we already have plans for dinner. Maybe another time?" "No problem. I'll just stop by to say hi. Won't stay long." Another long pause. "Actually, Ryan, Monica just mentioned she's not feeling well. Might be coming down with something. Probably better if you don't come. Don't want you to get sick." I smiled at my phone. "I'll take my chances. See you tomorrow." I didn't wait for a response, just put the phone down and finished my coffee. 2 hours later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. The message was from a man's voice, deep, confident, slightly annoyed. "This is for Ryan Thatcher. This is Daniel Reeves. I think we need to talk. Call me back at this number." I saved the message, didn't call back. Let him wonder. Friday evening, Lauren called 3 times. I didn't answer. She texted, "Ryan, seriously, please don't come tomorrow. Monica really isn't feeling well." I replied, "Already on my way, just left." I wasn't. I was sitting in my living room, eating leftover pizza and watching her panic in real time. "What? You said tomorrow afternoon." "Changed my mind. Traffic's lighter at night. I'll be there in a few hours." My phone immediately started ringing. I declined the call. She texted, "Ryan, please." Then, "This isn't funny." Then, "Call me right now." I turned off my phone and went to bed early. Tomorrow was going to be a long day. Saturday morning, I woke up at 6:30, made eggs and toast, packed a small bag, and drove south toward Tukwila. The Riverside Manor was easy to find. It sat on a hillside overlooking the Green River, all modern architecture and floor-to-ceiling windows designed to showcase the view. The kind of place where rooms started at $300 a night and went up from there. I parked in the public lot across the street, not the hotel lot, and waited. At 9:15, Lauren came out through the main entrance. She was wearing jeans and a cream-colored sweater I'd bought her for Christmas 2 years ago. Her hair was down, loose around her shoulders the way I used to love. She looked relaxed, happy even. Behind her, Daniel Reeves followed. He looked exactly like I'd expected from his voice. Mid-40s, fit, expensive haircut, tailored casual clothes that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. The kind of man who'd never changed a tire or unclogged a drain or spent Saturday morning at Home Depot trying to find the right size washers. They walked to the hotel restaurant together, not touching but close, comfortable in each other's space. I got out of my truck and crossed the street. The restaurant was one of those open-concept places where you could see straight through from the entrance. Floor-to-ceiling windows, modern furniture, fresh flowers on every table. Lauren and Daniel were seated near the back, facing each other across a small table. A waiter was pouring coffee. I walked in. The hostess approached with a bright smile. "Good morning. Table for one?" "I'm meeting someone. I see them." I walked past her before she could respond. Lauren saw me when I was 10 feet away. I watched her face go through every stage of recognition: confusion, surprise, understanding, horror. She stood up so fast, her chair scraped against the floor. "Ryan." Not a question, not an exclamation, just my name, dropped like a stone. Daniel turned around, his expression shifting from curiosity to calculation in about half a second. "Lauren," I said calmly. "Funny running into you here. I thought you were in Spokane with Monica." Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Daniel stood up, extending his hand like this was a business meeting. "You must be Ryan. I'm Daniel." I didn't take his hand. "I know who you are." He lowered his hand slowly. "Look, I think there's been some misunderstanding." "Has there?" I looked at Lauren. "Help me understand the misunderstanding. You texted me that you were staying with your sister who's actually in Portland. Meanwhile, you're here," I gestured at the restaurant, Having breakfast with Daniel. So, which part did I misunderstand? Ryan, please. Lauren's voice was shaking. Can we talk about this somewhere private? Why? Are you embarrassed? People are staring. Good. Let them stare. A few other diners had indeed noticed the tension. An older couple at the next table had stopped eating, their forks frozen halfway to their mouths. Daniel stepped between us, his voice low. Why don't we all take a breath here? Don't, I said, my voice cold. Don't pretend you're the reasonable one. Don't play mediator. You don't get to do that. I understand you're upset. You don't understand anything. Lauren grabbed my arm. Ryan, please, let's just go outside. I pulled away. How long? What? How long has this been going on? She looked at Daniel. He gave the tiniest shake of his head. That's when I knew. This wasn't new. This wasn't a mistake. This was planned, ongoing, and they'd already had conversations about what to say if they got caught. 3 months, I said. That's when the charges started showing up, when the phone calls began, when you started working late. Lauren's face went pale. You went through our phone records? Our phone records, our bank statements, our shared calendar, everything that belongs to both of us, which you seem to have forgotten about. That's a violation of privacy. I actually laughed. Privacy? You're talking to me about privacy while you're on day 3 of a 5-day hotel stay with someone else? Daniel cleared his throat. Look, Ryan, I don't care what you think. At all. I turned back to Lauren. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get your things from whatever room you're staying in. You're going to get in your car, and you're going to go home, our actual home, where we're going to have a conversation about what happens next. I can't just... Yes, you can. Right now. Ryan... Right now, Lauren. She looked at Daniel again. He nodded, barely perceptibly. That tiny gesture, that silent communication between them, felt worse than anything else. They had a language. They had signals. They were a team, and I was the outsider. I'll get my things, Lauren said quietly. She walked toward the elevators, leaving me standing there with Daniel. He waited until she was out of earshot, then said, For what it's worth, I didn't know she was married at first. I don't believe you. It's true. She didn't tell me until we'd already... He stopped himself. Until things had progressed. And you didn't care. I cared. But she said the marriage was already over, that you two were basically roommates, that she was going to leave anyway. And you believed her. Yeah, I did. Then you're even dumber than you look. His jaw tightened. There's no need for... Tell me something, Daniel. What do you do for a living? I'm in pharmaceutical sales. Married? Divorced. Kids? 2, they live with their mother. Do they know about Lauren? He hesitated. That's not relevant. It is, though. Because you're about to find out what it's like when someone makes a choice that affects your entire life without your permission. When someone takes something from you because they can. When someone lies to your face and expects you to just accept it. Are you threatening me? I'm making you a promise. Stay away from my wife. She's not your property. No, she's my partner. Or she was. But either way, you're done. Lauren came back before he could respond, pulling a rolling suitcase behind her. She wouldn't look at me. I'm parked across the street, I said. We walked out together, leaving Daniel standing in the restaurant. The drive home took 20 minutes. Neither of us spoke. When we pulled into our driveway, Lauren finally broke the silence. Are you going to let me explain? No. Ryan, I don't want explanations. I want you to pack enough clothes for a week and stay somewhere else while I figure out what to do. You're kicking me out of my own house? Our house. And yes. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem. Call Daniel, call Monica, call anyone you've been honest with lately. Oh wait, that's nobody. She started crying. Real tears. not the performative kind streaming down her face. I made a mistake. No. A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. This was a choice. Multiple choices. Every single day for 3 months. I never meant to hurt you. And yet... She got out of the truck and went inside. I followed, watching as she went upstairs and started pulling clothes from the closet. 15 minutes later, she came back down with 2 suitcases. I'll get the rest later. Fine. Ryan, please, can we at least... Go, Lauren. She left. The house felt different immediately, quieter, emptier, like someone had removed all the oxygen and replaced it with something thinner. I sat on the couch and stared at the wall for a long time. Then I called a lawyer. His name was Richard Moss, and he specialized in complicated divorces. I'd found him through an online search. Best divorce attorney, Seattle aggressive. His secretary answered on the second ring. Moss and Associates. I need to speak with Richard Moss about filing for divorce. He's in court this morning, but I can schedule a consultation. How's Monday at 10? Perfect. I hung up. Then I did something that surprised me. I called Daniel. He answered on the third ring. What do you want? I want to know if you love her. Silence. Daniel? That's a complicated question. No, it isn't. Do you love her? I care about her. That's not what I asked. More silence. You don't, I said. You like the idea of her. You like having someone who thinks you're special, but you don't actually love her. You don't know anything about us. I know you left your ex-wife. I know you barely see your kids. I know you're the kind of person who takes what he wants and doesn't think about consequences. That's not fair. Here's what's going to happen, Daniel. Lauren's going to realize that this was a fantasy, that you're not going to save her from her boring life, that you're just another guy who makes promises he can't keep. And when that happens, she's going to come back to me. And you'll take her back? No. But she doesn't know that yet. And by the time she figures it out, it'll be too late. I hung up. Then I opened my laptop and started documenting everything. Every text message, every call log entry, every credit card charge, every photo I'd taken at the restaurant. I created a timeline, a detailed, organized, comprehensive record of Lauren's affair, not because I was angry, because I was done being the person who got walked on, and I was going to make sure everyone understood that. Monday morning, I walked into Richard Moss's office at exactly 10 o'clock. His office was on the 15th floor of a downtown high-rise, all dark wood and leather furniture and subtle power moves. The kind of place designed to make you feel both wealthy and worried at the same time. Richard himself was in his late 50s, with silver hair and the kind of commanding presence that probably served him well in courtrooms. He shook my hand with a grip that suggested he could crush walnuts. Ryan, have a seat. Tell me what's going on. I spent 45 minutes walking him through everything. The lies, the hotel, the confrontation at the restaurant, the phone records and credit card statements. I showed him the photos, the documentation, the timeline I'd created. He listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. This is good work. Most people come in here with nothing but suspicions and hurt feelings. You've actually got evidence. Is it enough? Washington is a no-fault state, which means the affair itself doesn't really matter for the divorce, but it matters a lot for everything else. Division of assets, spousal support, who gets what. I want the house. Based on what you've shown me, I think we can make that happen. You've been making the mortgage payments primarily from your income, while her spending has been, let's say, questionable. What about her? What about her? Does she get anything? That depends on how aggressive you want to be. I thought about Lauren crying in the driveway, about her voice shaking when she said she'd made a mistake, about the way she'd looked at Daniel in the restaurant like he was something precious. As aggressive as legally possible. Richard smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I can work with that. He drafted the initial filing that day. By Wednesday, Lauren had been served with divorce papers at her office. She called me 17 times that afternoon. I didn't answer. Finally, she texted, "We need to talk about this." I replied, "Talk to my lawyer." "Ryan, this is insane. You're really going to throw away 8 years over one mistake?" "You made the mistake. I'm just dealing with the consequences. I want to fight for us. There is no us anymore." She stopped texting. But Daniel called. I answered on the fourth ring. "Yeah? You served her with divorce papers at work?" His voice was tight with barely controlled anger. "In front of her colleagues?" "I didn't serve her. The process server did. That's how it works." "You humiliated her. She humiliated herself and me and our marriage. I'm just making it official. This is vindictive." "No, this is efficient. Vindictive would be what comes next." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I've been doing some research on you, Daniel. Did you know your company has a morality clause in their employment contracts?" Silence. "Yeah," I continued. "I found it on their website, right there in the careers section. They take ethics very seriously, especially for sales reps who represent their brand to medical professionals." "You wouldn't what? Tell them that one of their employees has been engaging in an affair with a married woman, using company expense accounts to pay for hotel rooms? Because I have receipts for that too." "Those charges were personal." "Were they?" "Because I pulled up your company's expense reports. They're public for pharmaceutical companies. Transparency regulations. And I found some interesting patterns. Hotel stays in cities where you don't have clients. Dinner charges for two at restaurants far from any medical centers. Want to guess what your accounting department would think about that?" "You son of a—" "Careful. Don't say something you'll regret." "Why are you doing this?" "Because you thought you could walk into my life, take my wife, and face no consequences. But actions have consequences, Daniel, and I'm done being the nice guy who just takes it." I hung up. Then I did exactly what I'd threatened. I compiled a detailed report of Daniel's expense account irregularities. Nothing illegal. He was too smart for that. But definitely questionable. Definitely worth investigating. I sent it anonymously to 3 different email addresses at his company: the ethics hotline, the accounting department, and the regional vice president. Subject line: concerned about employee conduct. 3 days later, Lauren called. "What did you do?" "About what?" "Daniel got suspended from work. They're auditing all his expense reports." "That's unfortunate." "Ryan, you need to stop this." "I didn't start it." "He could lose his job." "Then maybe he should have been more careful about how he used company resources." "This isn't about the expenses and you know it." "Actually, it is. He broke company policy. I just made sure the right people knew about it." "You're destroying his life." "No, I'm making him accountable. There's a difference." "What happened to you?" "You did, Lauren. You and Daniel. You made me realize that being the good guy, the understanding guy, the guy who just accepts everything and doesn't make waves, that guy gets walked on. So, I decided to be someone else." "Someone cruel?" "Someone who protects himself." She hung up. That night, I got a visit. The doorbell rang at 9:30. I looked through the peephole and saw Daniel standing on my porch, hands in his pockets, shoulders hunched against the rain. I opened the door, but didn't invite him in. "We need to talk," he said. "No, we don't." "Please, just 5 minutes." I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. The rain was light but cold, misting across the porch. "You've made your point," Daniel said. "I get it. I screwed up. I never should have gotten involved with Lauren. But this needs to stop." "Does it?" "I lost my job today. They fired me. Do you understand what that means? I have a mortgage. I have child support payments. I have bills. And whose fault is that? You reported me. I reported facts. What your company did with those facts is on them. You ruined my life." "No, you ruined your own life. You made choices, bad choices, selfish choices, and now you're facing consequences. Welcome to how the rest of us live." He stepped closer, his voice dropping. "If you don't stop this, I'm going to—" "You're going to what, Daniel? Threaten me? That would be a mistake. I'm not threatening you." "Yes, you are. And here's why that's stupid. I have cameras on this porch, audio and video, high definition, cloud backup. Everything you're saying right now is being recorded. So if you want to continue making threats, go ahead. I'll add it to the evidence file." He looked up, spotting the small camera mounted near the roof. "I just want you to leave us alone." "There is no us. Lauren is my wife, legally, officially, until the divorce is finalized. You're just the guy she was seeing on the side. And now you're the guy who doesn't have a job because he couldn't keep his personal life separate from his professional obligations. She doesn't love you anymore. Maybe not, but she doesn't love you either. She loves the fantasy you represented, the excitement, the escape. But reality is setting in now, isn't it? You're not the successful executive anymore. You're just an unemployed guy with 2 ex-wives and anger issues. I have 1 ex-wife. For now." He stared at me, rain dripping down his face. "Stay away from my property," I said. "Stay away from me. And if I find out you're still seeing Lauren, I'll make your life even more complicated than it already is." "How?" "Your ex-wife, the mother of your kids. Does she know about Lauren?" His expression changed. "You wouldn't. Try me." He turned and walked away without another word. I went back inside, locked the door, and pulled up the security camera footage on my laptop. Clear audio, clear video. Daniel making veiled threats on my property. I saved it to 5 different locations, just in case. The next week was quiet. Too quiet. Lauren was staying with a friend across town, according to her lawyer. She wasn't contesting the divorce, but she wanted fair asset division. My lawyer laughed when he told me that. Fair? After what she did? Apparently her lawyer thinks you're being unreasonable about the house. The house I've been paying for while she spent our money on hotels? That's what I said. They backed down pretty quickly. The divorce proceedings moved faster than I expected. Without kids, without major disputes, it was mostly just paperwork and waiting periods. But I wasn't done. Because Daniel had mentioned something that stuck with me. His ex-wife. Her name was Julia. I found her through public records. She lived in Bellevue with their 2 kids, worked as a teacher at a private school. I sent her a letter, not anonymous, my actual name and return address. "Dear Julia, my name is Ryan Thatcher. You don't know me, but I recently discovered that my wife has been having an affair with your ex-husband Daniel for the past 3 months. I'm writing to let you know because I believe you deserve to have the full picture of who your children's father is. I've attached documentation showing the extent of their relationship, including expense reports and photos. I'm not doing this to hurt you or your children. I'm doing this because I believe parents should know who they're dealing with when it comes to custody and co-parenting. If you have any questions or need any additional information, please feel free to contact me. Sincerely, Ryan Thatcher. I included copies of the restaurant photos, the hotel receipts, the phone records, everything. Then I mailed it and waited. 3 days later, Daniel showed up at my work. I was in the parking garage walking to my truck after a long day of dealing with a broken HVAC system when he appeared from between 2 cars. "You sent Julia a letter." "Yeah, I did. She's using it to modify our custody arrangement. She's trying to reduce my visitation. That's between you and her. You had no right." "I had every right. She's your ex-wife. She gets to know what kind of person she's dealing with. My kids are terrified of me now. She told them I'm a liar and a cheater." "You are a liar and a cheater." "They're children." "Exactly. They deserve to know the truth about their father." He grabbed my shirt, pushing me against my truck. "You've gone too far." I didn't push back, didn't resist. "Daniel," I said calmly, "there are cameras all over this parking garage. Right now, you're committing assault. And if you don't let go of me in the next 3 seconds, I'm going to file charges. He hesitated. 1. His grip tightened. 2. He let go, stepping back. This isn't over, he said. Yeah, it is. You just don't realize it yet. He walked away. I pulled out my phone and called building security, reporting the incident. They pulled the footage. Clear evidence of Daniel grabbing me. I filed a police report, got a restraining order, added it all to my files. Because that's what you do when you're building a case. You document everything. You prepare for every possibility. You make sure that when someone tries to hurt you, they fail. And you make sure they understand that actions have consequences. Always. The restraining order was served to Daniel on a Friday. 200 feet minimum distance, no contact through any means. Violation meant immediate arrest. Lauren called me that same afternoon. A restraining order? Are you serious? He assaulted me in a parking garage. What did you expect me to do? He barely touched you. He grabbed me and pushed me against my truck. That's assault, and it's on camera. You're using the legal system as a weapon. I'm using the legal system exactly as intended, to protect myself from someone who's shown he can't control his anger. He's not dangerous. He showed up at my house making threats. Then he cornered me at my workplace and put his hands on me. That's the definition of dangerous. You've destroyed his entire life, Ryan. His job, his kids, his reputation. I didn't destroy anything. I just made sure people knew the truth. He destroyed his own life through his choices. When did you become this person? When my wife decided to spend 3 months lying to me so she could have an affair. She hung up. But I wasn't finished. The next phase required more subtlety. Daniel's pharmaceutical company had fired him, but that didn't mean he couldn't work in the industry. Sales guys like him always landed somewhere. They had connections, networks, references from before everything went bad. So I made sure those references got complicated. I found the LinkedIn profiles of 3 of Daniel's former colleagues, people who'd worked with him before his current company, people who might vouch for him in a job search. I sent each of them a professionally worded email. Hello, my name is Ryan Thatcher. I'm writing to provide you with information regarding Daniel Reeves that you may find relevant given your professional relationship with him. Mr. Reeves was recently terminated from his position due to ethics violations and misuse of company resources. Additionally, he is currently subject to a restraining order following an assault incident. I wanted to make you aware of this information in case he uses you as a reference for future employment. Attached is documentation of these incidents, including police reports and company termination letters obtained through public records. I'm not seeking to damage Mr. Reeves's reputation unfairly, but I believe colleagues should have accurate information about someone they might recommend. Best regards, Ryan Thatcher. I sent the emails on a Monday morning, when people were most likely to check their inboxes carefully. 2 of the 3 responded within a day, thanking me for the information and saying they'd keep it in mind. The 3rd didn't respond, but I noticed Daniel removed that person from his LinkedIn connections 2 days later. That same week, the divorce moved into its final stages. Lauren had agreed to most of my terms. I kept the house. We split the savings 50-50. She took her car, I took my truck. Personal belongings divided cleanly. But there was one issue her lawyer kept pushing: spousal support. She's asking for $1,200 a month for 2 years, Richard told me over the phone, to help her transition to independent living. Absolutely not. She's claiming that she put her career on hold to support yours. She makes more money than I do. I know, which is why we're going to reject this emphatically. He drafted a response that was, in his words, professionally devastating. It pointed out Lauren's higher salary, her career advancement during our marriage, her expenditures on personal luxury items while claiming financial hardship, the hotel charges she'd racked up during her affair. Her lawyer backed down within 24 hours. But Lauren herself showed up at the house on a Thursday evening. I watched her car pull into the driveway through the window, debating whether to answer the door. She rang the bell 3 times. I opened it, standing in the doorway. "We're not supposed to have direct contact," I said. "I know, but I needed to see you, to talk to you without lawyers." "There's nothing to talk about. Ryan, please, just 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I stepped aside. She came in, looking around like she didn't recognize the place. I'd rearranged some furniture, taken down the photos of us, repainted the living room. "You changed everything," she said. "I'm moving forward." "With what? Destroying Daniel's life?" "I haven't destroyed anything. He can't find work. He had 3 job interviews and they all fell through. His ex-wife is using what you gave her to take his kids away. He's staying with his brother because he can't afford his apartment anymore." Again, how is any of that my fault? "You sent information to his professional contacts. Public information. Everything I sent was either public record or information he'd already shared with those people. You're systematically ruining him." "I'm systematically protecting myself and making sure he faces appropriate consequences for his actions." She stared at me, her eyes filling with tears. "What happened to you? You keep asking me that. As if you don't know. As if you weren't there when this started." "I made a mistake. Stop calling it a mistake." My voice rose despite my intention to stay calm. "A mistake is accidental. What you did was intentional. You made plans. You lied repeatedly. You created an entire false narrative about visiting your sister. You spent our money on hotel rooms. You looked me in the eye every morning and pretended everything was fine. That's not a mistake. That's a betrayal." I was unhappy. "Then you should have said something. You should have told me you wanted out. Instead, you lied." "Would you have let me go?" "I don't let you do anything. You're not a child. You're an adult who made choices, and now you're facing the consequences." "And Daniel?" "Daniel made his own choices. He pursued a married woman. He used company resources inappropriately. He made threats. He put his hands on me. Every single consequence he's facing is directly traceable to his own actions." "You're taking everything from him." "No. I'm making sure he doesn't get away with taking everything from me." She wiped her eyes. "The old Ryan would never do this. The old Ryan let people walk all over him. The old Ryan made dinner for a wife who was texting her lover. The old Ryan trusted people who didn't deserve it. But that guy is gone, Lauren. You and Daniel made sure of that." "So what now? You just destroy anyone who crosses you?" "Only people who try to destroy me first." She stood there for a long moment, then turned and walked to the door. "I hope you're happy," she said. "I'm not. But I'm not your problem anymore." She left. I locked the door behind her and stood in the empty living room, feeling nothing at all. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks later. Judge's signature, official decree, everything divided and distributed according to the settlement. Lauren moved to Olympia, took a job at a different dental practice, started over. Daniel eventually found work at a smaller pharmaceutical company, taking a significant pay cut and losing most of his client base. His ex-wife got primary custody of their kids. And me? I sold the house. Too many memories, too much history. Bought a condo downtown, closer to work, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city. Started dating again, carefully, slowly, learning to trust in small increments. But I never forgot what I'd learned. That people will take advantage if you let them. That trust is earned, not given. That consequences matter. And that sometimes, the only way to protect yourself is to become the person no one wants to cross. I didn't set out to be cruel. I didn't plan to systematically dismantle 2 people's lives. But they forced my hand. And I played the game better than they did. Some people might call that revenge. I call it justice. And I sleep fine at night. 6 months after the divorce, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello? Ryan Thatcher?" A woman's voice. Professional but uncertain. "Yeah, who's this?" "My name is Amanda Pierce. I'm Daniel Reeves' current girlfriend." I sat up straighter. Okay. I found your information through some old emails on his laptop. I hope you don't mind me calling. Depends on why you're calling. I need to know if what he's told me is true. About what? About you. About what happened. He says you destroyed his life because you couldn't handle your wife leaving you. I took a breath. Is that what he said? Yes. He says you fabricated evidence against him, that you got him fired unfairly, that you turned his ex-wife against him out of spite. And you're calling me to verify his version? I'm calling you because some things aren't adding up. He's been lying about where he is, what he's doing. Little things at first, but they're getting bigger. And I found hotel receipts in his car, for dates when he told me he was working late. My stomach dropped. Amanda, is he doing this again? I didn't answer right away. Ryan, please. I need to know if I'm crazy or if he's doing it again. Silence on the other end. Everything I did, I continued, every action I took was based on documented evidence. He had an affair with my wife for 3 months. He used company expense accounts to pay for hotel rooms. When I confronted him, he made threats and then assaulted me in a parking garage. Everything I reported to his employer, to his ex-wife, to his professional contacts, it was all true, all verifiable. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Don't be. Thank you for being honest. Amanda, can I give you some advice? Please, document everything, every lie, every inconsistency, every receipt. Don't confront him until you have evidence, because guys like Daniel are very good at making you doubt yourself. I will. Thank you. And Amanda, get out before it gets worse. These patterns don't change. They just evolve. She hung up. I sat there holding my phone, feeling something that might have been sadness or might have been grim satisfaction. Daniel hadn't learned. He'd blamed everyone else for his problems, me, Lauren, his ex-wife, his employer, without ever looking at his own choices. And now he was doing it again. Some people never change. 2 months later, I was at a coffee shop downtown when I saw her. Lauren. She was sitting at a corner table with her laptop, wearing glasses I'd never seen before, her hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She looked different, tired, maybe, or just older. I could have left, should have left. But something made me walk over. Lauren. She looked up, startled. Ryan. Can I sit? She hesitated, then nodded. I sat down across from her. How are you? I asked. Fine, working. You? Same. Awkward silence. I heard you moved to Olympia, I said. Yeah, fresh start. Makes sense. More silence. Ryan, She stopped, shook her head. Never mind. What? I was going to say I'm sorry, but I've said that before, and it doesn't change anything. No, it doesn't. Do you hate me? I thought about that. Really thought about it. No, I said finally. I don't hate you. I don't really feel anything toward you anymore, and that's somehow worse than hate. She looked down at her laptop. Daniel and I aren't together anymore. I know. You know? His new girlfriend called me a few months ago, told me he was doing the same thing to her that he did to you. Lauren's expression darkened. He told me I was special, that we were special. He tells everyone that. I was so stupid. You weren't stupid. You were unhappy and you made bad choices. That's different. Do you ever think about what would have happened if I'd just talked to you? If I'd told you I was unhappy instead of every day for the first 3 months? Not anymore. Why not? Because thinking about it doesn't change what happened, and I've spent enough time looking backward. She nodded slowly. Are you seeing anyone? Yeah, a woman named Jennifer. She's a structural engineer. We met at a building inspection. That's very you. Yeah. Is it serious? Getting there. We're taking it slow. That's good. You deserve to be happy. So do you. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I'm working on it. I stood up. Take care of yourself, Lauren. You too, Ryan. I walked out of the coffee shop and didn't look back. That night, Jennifer came over. We made dinner together, actually together, both of us in the kitchen, laughing when I burned the garlic, and she oversalted the sauce. We ate on the balcony, watching the city lights come on as the sun set. "You're quiet tonight," she said. "I ran into my ex-wife today." "Oh, how was that?" "Strange, sad, but also final somehow." "Final how?" "Like I could see clearly that we were never going to work, that the person she is and the person I am, we're just not compatible, and I'm okay with that." Jennifer reached across the table and took my hand. "For what it's worth, I think you're pretty compatible with me." I smiled. "Yeah?" "Yeah." We sat there as the city darkened, holding hands, not needing to say anything else. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something like peace. Not happiness, exactly. Not closure. Just the quiet understanding that I'd survived, that I'd fought back, that I'd protected myself when no one else would, and that I'd become someone stronger in the process, someone who wouldn't be walked on again, someone who understood that kindness and strength weren't opposites, they were complements. You could be good without being weak. You could be forgiving without being a doormat. You could move forward without forgetting. Lauren had taught me that through betrayal. Daniel had taught me that through aggression. And I'd taught myself that sometimes the only way to win is to refuse to lose. The divorce papers were in a file box in my closet. The evidence folder was backed up in 3 different clouds. The restraining order was still active for another year. But I didn't think about them anymore. I thought about Jennifer's laugh, about my work, about the life I was building from the wreckage of the old one. And I realized something. I had won. Not because I'd destroyed Daniel's career, or because Lauren had lost the life she'd imagined with him, but because I'd survived with my integrity intact, because I'd fought back without becoming the villain, because I'd held people accountable without sacrificing my own values. That was the real victory, not revenge, not punishment, just the simple, profound fact of survival. And as I sat there on my balcony, watching the city lights shimmer in the distance, holding hands with someone who actually valued honesty and commitment, I understood something fundamental. Some stories don't end with triumph, they end with survival, and sometimes that's enough.